prolific, best-selling authors die, and books continue to be published under their name. Now, there are plenty of dead writers with books on the shelves. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about dead writers who persist in publishing new works. They become a franchise. For a while, it might be stuff that they wrote but was not published before they died. It may need editing. It might be ready to go. Barbara Cartland, a British author, is supposed to have left 160 complete manuscripts behind. After these texts are gone, it's books written by some other author using notes for a story or a few chapters of an unfinished book, or possibly expanding on a comment the famous author made to someone before he died. In some way, however slight, the author still had a hand in the work. After that, there comes one of the books written in the style of the deceased by someone who has studied his work, or knew him, or had met him, or lived in a nearby town. However it happens, the books by this author continue to flow long after their demise. Robert Ludlum, Michael Crichton, and Robert B. Parker come to mind. There are others. They were simply too successful. The industry could not bear to let them go. They died, but their work lives on. They're dead, but books are being published under their name, sometimes accompanied by a "with" and the name of another writer, as if the two were working closely together in collaboration. I understand that when you're hot, but it's at least equally true that when you're dead, you're dead. But the publishing industry, inspired by profit, has found a way around this. Death and taxes were the only certainties once. Taxes, smart people shot loopholes into them long ago, and for years people have been very adroitly avoiding taxes. The publishing industry is turning its back on death. As problems go, death is inconvenient but surmountable. They may be making money, which is the entire point of the enterprise, but it really is a pathetic, even craven practice. It's like a player dies, a baseball player, let's say, and the team sends out another player wearing the dead man's uniform. Now appearing at first base as Albert Pujols, the announcer says, is Eddie Johnson. Well, to paraphrase, I think it's John Anderson, but it might be someone else since I barely recall John Anderson. But anyway, I'd say, Mr. Johnson, I knew Albert Pujols, and you are no Albert Pujols. It somewhat amazes me that this practice is successful, but it clearly is. Libraries alone buy thousands and thousands of hardback copies. In my little branch library, I see entire shelves of books written by these people who are dead. Aspiring writers try to see their books into print with no success, while dead people are published with volumes that seem to come off an assembly line. Sometimes they justify this practice when there's a main character in a series of books, like Perry Mason or James Bond or Spencer the Detective, and readers are eager to read more about the adventures of the protagonist, even though the author is dead. The publishers are providing a service to the readers, so the characters literally outlive the writer. The books may be churned out in the style of the writer. That isn't difficult at all. Crichton's vastly popular speculations on technology, Ludlum's web of conspiracies and intrigue. Parker himself wrote a book with, if you'll pardon the expression, Raymond Chandler. I read a lot of Parker and I've read a lot of Chandler, but I didn't bother with that one. A hybrid, I guess you could say. But then, it shouldn't be too surprising. Dead people, as it happens, are quite capable in certain instances. Dead people vote. Dead people are sometimes elected to office. Dead people collect Social Security and unemployment checks. So why can't dead people write books? The answer is, with some assistance, they can. The question for me is, what kind of people are reading them? What is the audience for dead authors? For books that are not written by the person you want to be reading? a deliberate and acknowledged deception, a fake. It's people who crave another helping of the same, the tried and true. Nothing wrong with that. If you found something that pleases you, you'd be crazy to switch to something else. But I would just note that in this case, book publishing, we are dealing with a product known as the novel, and to expect novelties from a dead person may be asking too much. These books are McNovels, billions and billions served.